Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below or subscribe to this channel if you are new. So, the 2024 primary season is coming up. It's coming up faster than a lot of people assume. Next year we're likely going to have some more Republicans start announcing for president. We'll also get a decision on the Democrat side if Joe Biden is going to be going up for a second term as well. But what we do know is that ever since the midterms, Donald Trump has started to slip in a lot of these opinion polls for the 2024 nomination. And Ron DeSantis, mainly bolstered by the electability narrative, bolstered by his massive election win in Florida, tends to be surging. He's surging right now in several polls. He's in the 40s, which leads a lot of people to believe that this is going to be a very contentious primary. A lot of these outlets that were on the right wing that were giving Trump praise during his presidency now tend to be putting all of their eggs in the Ron DeSantis basket. And on top of that, DeSantis is also getting funded by a lot of GOP mega donors, and a lot of the news media is kind of covering Trump a little bit differently compared to how they covered Trump back in the 2016 primary, which leads me to believe that this is going to be shaping up to be an absolute dogfight between Trump and DeSantis if DeSantis ends up running, which begs the question, is Trump more electable than Ron DeSantis, and what states is Ron DeSantis or Trump more electable in? Now, we could go on and on about the arguments for or against. This is not necessarily just an opinion video of sorts, but we're going to be looking at the electoral map, and we're going to be looking and seeing which states is Trump more electable in, and comparing that to states that Ron DeSantis may be more electable in, and we will see what the final answer tends to be when it's all said and done, because you look at the electoral argument, you have to look at the states that are going to be the swing states. And you could make an argument that, hey, if we have a divided party, we're not winning anything in 2024. And I'll agree with that to a certain extent, which is why we need to do everything we possibly can to avoid an ugly primary. But still, just to settle it in this video, this is an updated Trump versus DeSantis electability map that we will fill out. But first, I have to tell you guys about our friends over at Noble Gold, because 2022 has shown us what might be coming. So if you're fed up with everything being so expensive and the threat of recession hanging over your head, it's time to take action. A precious metal IRA uses tax-advantaged gold and silver to keep inflation at bay and give you protection from financial nightmares. And you'll get a stunning free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin when you open a qualifying IRA account this month. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. Call 877-646-5347 now to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. So without further ado, let's fill out this map. Again, this is not a primary prediction. This is not an election prediction. This is which candidate would be more electable in each state. Yes, there are some close calls here, and yes, there are some states that are more important than other states that we will fill out. So we're going to start off on the West Coast. We'll actually start off with Alaska and Hawaii, so we just don't forget those two. And probably DeSantis would have the upper hand in both states, in my opinion. They just tend to have a lot of their concentration in suburban areas. That's where DeSantis is going to likely do better than Trump in. Is he going to get ridiculously high margins in the suburbs? Are we going to see reversion back to 2012? Probably not. He may not even get Trump 2016 margins in the suburbs, but he likely will do a couple of points better than Trump or so, which also explains why he will do better in Washington and Oregon in the Pacific Northwest. These are states where DeSantis will likely do better than Trump in the Seattle and Portland metros by just a hair, and that would be enough to make him more electable in them. California, you look at the most recent election, you look at how many of these generic R type of down ballot Republicans have performed. They got decent turnout. They have a decent operation there. DeSantis, I'm not even going to say he would get 40%, but he would get probably, decent margins in, suburban LA and Orange County, these places, to do better than Trump. Furthermore, the state of Nevada and Arizona, I think DeSantis would have the upper hand in both of these states. Again, you have a large suburban concentration. I do think DeSantis and Trump would run about even in Nevada. I do believe DeSantis would do better in a state like Arizona with those ancestral Republicans, with those voters in East Maricopa County. So he would do better in those states. He also would do better in Utah because of the Mormon population there. He doesn't have as much personal baggage. He likely would do better in a place like Wyoming as well, although not by much, and Idaho because of the Mormon belt, the Mormon population there, even though he likely would underperform Trump in a place like northern Idaho, where there's more ancestral Dems there that have turned Republican. And DeSantis would also probably do better in Colorado as well because of the suburbs and New Mexico. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Donald Trump is not stronger in other states. We filled out every state so far for Ron DeSantis. I do believe Trump would do better in the Dakotas. He vastly outperformed Romney there. He does have a unique point of strength among those rural voters across the middle America, and that does extend to places like the Dakotas. Even Montana, you could argue Trump would do better there. I think he would do better in Nebraska's third, and Nebraska at large than DeSantis. I still think DeSantis would outperform Trump in the first district as well as the second district, although not by enough to win it in its current form. Don Bacon barely won it. I don't believe DeSantis would. So the state of Kansas, that's going to be another DeSantis state. The suburbs there, Johnson County, they're getting out of hand. And I'm not even sure that this state is going to be Republican in 20 years' time. I really don't. The rural areas will still come out strong regardless. I think Trump would do better in them than DeSantis, but still, either way, DeSantis has the upper hand because of the metros and because of the Kansas City suburbs that are growing exponentially and spilling over into Kansas. Oklahoma, that's a state I really could see going either way. I'll probably even give it to Donald Trump just because of the large rural concentration there. But it is ancestrally Republican at the same time. DeSantis would do a few points better than Trump in some counties, maybe like in the Tulsa area or OKC, but not by a ridiculous amount. I do believe DeSantis will do better than Trump in a place like Texas. Because of those suburbs. I think downstate, the margins there, maybe you could say Trump would do better in the RGV, but you talk about suburban Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, etc. DeSantis would likely outperform Trump in those places among those ancestral Republican voters. However, Trump would do very well in a lot of these other southern states like Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. He would run up the margins there, turn out the base in higher numbers, in my opinion. Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, just all throughout Appalachia, where there has been this, disaffected voter, disaffected by politics. They like the fact that Trump is an outsider. Trump's strength would be in these areas. They also do spill over to other states in the Midwest, states like Missouri, which he won by a much wider margin than past Republicans have won Missouri by, Iowa and Ohio especially. Even though I think DeSantis would win these states, I do believe that Trump would do better in them than DeSantis because of the educational demography there. Indiana is another example of a state like that. I do believe DeSantis would do better in Illinois just because of the Chicago suburbs having so much pull throughout the entire state, and he would still get respectable margins downstate there. But in terms of the states in the Southeast, Florida, for example, both of these candidates are technically from the state of Florida. You could say, even though Trump wasn't born in Florida, it is his home state, which is one of the reasons why a Trump-DeSantis ticket may not actually work, because Trump would have to change his residency first, or they would have to forfeit 30 electoral votes per the Constitution. But I think DeSantis would be more electable in Florida. That doesn't mean I don't think Trump would win Florida, but DeSantis would likely end up winning it by a wider margin. Georgia, because of the suburbs there, I do believe DeSantis would outperform Trump because the Atlanta area has so much pull. The rural areas still have a lot of ancestral R's and probably would end up coming out for DeSantis just as they would Donald Trump. So DeSantis has the upper hand in Georgia. South Carolina, because of educational demography, the rural areas, we'll give that one to Trump. I think Trump would do better in South Carolina than DeSantis. North Carolina, That's a little bit of a mixed bag. That one really could go either way. Honestly, I think you might be able to give the upper hand to Ron DeSantis there, but not by much. The state of Virginia, I do believe that DeSantis would do better than Trump there just because of Nova, because of where the population is concentrated, the higher educational attainment. DeSantis would probably do better with those voters than Donald Trump. Same thing goes for a lot of these states up in the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic. DC, for example, which is not a state but still counts as a state on the Electoral College map pretty much. Maryland is another example. Just a lot of these northeastern states like Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, the higher educational attainment, Trump doesn't tend to do as well in those places. DeSantis would probably not do much better than Trump, but he might do a couple of points better. Trump, however, I do believe would do better in a place like Delaware because of the high white working class population. He's going to probably be going up against Biden again if he does win the nomination, which arguably would hurt him in that state in the general, but that's going to be something you're going to have to overcome. I think that, defying home field advantage, you're going to have to go with somebody that is a little bit more polarizing there. Rhode Island as well, just because of the larger white working class population. Trump would do better there than DeSantis. DeSantis would have the upper hand in a place like New Jersey. It's very suburban and very Italian. That plays out well. Same thing to a lesser extent goes for New York City. I think that he would perform decently well in the New York suburbs there. New Hampshire, I think that Trump's more non-interventionist message may play out a little bit better there, although he did regress in the state in 2020, but because Biden probably has lost popularity there as well, should be, I guess, easier for Trump to win it than DeSantis because of messaging. I still think it's going to go blue regardless. Maine at large, I will give that one to Trump. I'll give the first district to DeSantis, but Trump will likely end up running up the margins there in the second district, probably more so than DeSantis would, because it is very similar to a state like Iowa or Ohio in terms of its past voting trends and educational demography. So we now focus our energy on the Rust Belt, which is where the election is more likely than not going to be won. Pennsylvania, Trump's energy stance is there. The fact that he really turns out the base unlike any other Republican we've seen in the state of Pennsylvania in recent history. I'll give Pennsylvania to Donald Trump. Michigan, I think Trump also would be more electable in Michigan there than DeSantis because of the fact that he does have this unique Rust Belt appeal. I don't know if he can win Michigan this time around because of the fact that the Dems have that trifecta. They're going to make it hard for him. They're going to make it hard for DeSantis as well. I think that Trump, being the kind of unique figure that he is, would probably be able to buck that trend more so than DeSantis. Wisconsin, I think DeSantis would do better in the WOW counties, but Trump likely would do better in nearly every other county than Ron DeSantis. He does have that unique rural and industrial Midwestern appeal there that DeSantis doesn't exactly have. And I think that that would be enough to give Wisconsin to be in Trump's column in terms of which candidate's more electable there. And then that leaves us with the state of Minnesota. Minnesota, either way, the Twin Cities at this point, they're going to probably be voting against either Republican. I mean, Republicans put up a squishy moderate for governor there, and he didn't really perform that well in the Twin Cities. Trump at least can get out the rural population and probably came the closest to winning Minnesota than anybody since, I believe, Reagan in 1984 back in 2016. I don't think either candidate really will win Minnesota, but Trump being more polarizing, I'll give him the edge. So here we go. DeSantis is more electable in more states than Donald Trump in terms of the electoral votes here. He's more electable with 345. Trump is more electable in 193. However, I'm going to explain why that doesn't necessarily make Ron DeSantis more electable than Donald Trump. He may be more likely to win the popular vote at the end of the day, but in terms of who's actually more likely to win the Electoral College, well, you're going to have to start disabling states that don't exactly make a difference, like deep blue states, for example, like states that are going to go Republican regardless. Yes, that includes Florida. Yes, that includes Texas. So we could start off here by doing this and getting rid of a lot of these states that would go to either candidate. and we'll see what exactly we'll end up left with. Obviously, we'll keep Nebraska second, even though I don't think DeSantis would win it. Colorado, that's not competitive anymore. South Carolina, get that out of there. So we are going to look at these states right here. And what exactly are we left with? We're left with it being pretty much dead even. We'll get rid of Kansas, of course, D.C. right there. 50 for DeSantis, 49 for Donald Trump. But if you look at the Electoral College and you look at it, basically, you could even take North Carolina off the table because I think they would run about even. Nevada, they would possibly run about even. You're looking at the states that actually are the most in play here. That does take Michigan off the table, takes Maine second, takes Nebraska second off the table, takes New Hampshire off the table. Trump would have 29, DeSantis would have 27. Now keep this in mind, Trump getting those two, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and taking Nevada, which I guess we could put back in the column of DeSantis there. If we could fill this out, there we go. If Trump was able to win Nevada and those two states, well, guess what? He would hit 270. If DeSantis would win Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, it's not entirely enough to get there. So in terms of the electability, this comes down to a Rust Belt versus Sun Belt, a rural versus suburb game. And we'll see how the primaries play out. But in terms of the electability argument, you could argue it's anywhere from a wash to Trump has the advantage. Because Trump still could win states like Arizona or Georgia. I don't necessarily believe DeSantis stands a chance in Pennsylvania or he stands a chance in Wisconsin because those states are kind of like these only Trump states. Just like you have never Trump districts, you also have only Trump places as well. And a lot of like the electabro types aren't taking that into account. So we'll see. Again, the divided party is something we don't want going into the 2024 election, obviously, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of years. But we'll see what happens leading up to Iowa, which is going to be taking place in a little bit over a year. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.